Mariah May's arrival in WWE is way bigger than you know, because the Glamour girl has officially arrived in WWE, making her NXT debut this week. Now, on the surface, this is just another exciting talent acquisition for WWE's third brand. But when you look closer at her journey, her recent successes in AEW, and potential plans WWE might have lined up for her, it becomes much more clear that Mariah May's WWE arrival is much bigger than many fans may realize. This isn't just about adding another name to the NXT roster. We're exploring why Mariah May's specific signing, giving her AEW history as a former world champion and Owen Hart tournament winner, sends significant message and could have major ripple effects in WWE. Now, before I get into my opinion, I want to lay out the groundwork of what we know as of Wednesday morning, okay, June 4th. So, first report comes from Sean Ross Sapp of Fightful Select. Shocker. He's the one that breaks all this great news. So, Mariah May, she made her big arrival on NXT. It stunned the world. Now, according to Fightful, she has signed a multi-year deal, and one as something that I would expect is going to be a major money deal, right? Larger than a typical NXT deal. Now, WWE has been moving talent around in anticipation of this move, right? We've seen a number of NXT talents, Stephanie Valkyries, Julia's, Roxanne Perez's, etc., move to the main roster. Now, the specifics of its deal and debut were in a very tight circle. Only officially a few knew that May was on board ahead of time, but the plan for a while has been for her to be in NXT. They were told that word was relayed to the Gorilla position and those talents in Gorilla just before the segment started. Most in AEW expected her to head to WWE for the last several months. She had been making preparing for life after AEW over the last few months, with everyone thinking that the landing point was going to be WWE. The talent that Fightful spoke with said that they were expecting her on NXT. When they heard that AEW was interested in retaining her, they've yet to hear whether or not AEW actually made an offer and what those offers look like. Now, according to those that they spoke with in AEW, they didn't seem to be in a situation in which AEW and Mariah May departed on bad terms, potentially, laying the groundwork for a potential return down the road. Now, we knew that Mariah May was on her way out of AEW once she was removed from AEW's roster page on May 31st, and her management said that she was technically still under contract. Fightful learned that the deal came up at the start of June with a couple other talents, but made the rare move on their behalf of getting ahead of the departures. Ala Abaddon is departing, but she's still on AEW's roster page. Now, WWE did not mention her name, okay? And the reason for that, according to TC of WrestleVotes, is because WWE plans to change her names, okay? Mariah May is not her real name. Mariah May is her first and middle name, okay? So what WWE likes to do is they like to go in there and go, hey, Kevin Owens, hey, Ricky Saints, or Ricky Starks rather. We want to change your name. Here's some options. Kevin Owens went from Kevin Owens, he went from Kevin Steen, because Kevin Steen is his real name, to Kevin Owens, right? Ricky Starks went from Ricky Starks, because that's his real name, to Ricky Saints. They like to do that. They like to own the IP to the trademarks. Therefore, when you leave WWE, you can't take that name. They own the IP of that name, okay? But if you use your real name, they can't own your real name. That's not how this works, okay? Now, WWE reportedly is going in that direction. Now, what they will come up with, I don't know, but I can't see it being too far off. I expect her to keep the Mariah in her name. May, I don't know. It'll be interesting. Mariah May is a very catchy name, so it's going to be very interesting to see what WWE does with this. Now, let's look at Mariah May's history with WWE, because it may be more than you know. Now, look, Mariah May made a name for herself on the UK independent wrestling scene after breaking into the business. She found a ton of success in a international run in Japan with Stardom from early 2023 into early 2024. She was part of a faction called Club Venice, and that really got her in the limelight. Okay, now she never had any tryouts with WWE. She was never given a developmental contract or appearances, but she was at least on AEW's radar, an AEW's situation, because they were interested. So they brought her in late 2023. She was initially presented as an admirer or a protege of AEW Women's World Champion Timeless Toni Storm. She came in, she signed, she was part of the Owen Hart Foundation tournament of 2024. She won it by beating Willow in the finals at Dynasty that year, and they gave her a future women's world title match. She then decided to turn and attack Toni Storm. She went on to beat Toni Storm for the AEW Women's World Championship at All In at Wembley Stadium in August, and they continued to feud. She held the title for several months, and ultimately she lost the championship in Australia, and they did a blow-off at Revolution in March, where Toni went over May in a bloody Hollywood-ending fight. Now, this was Mariah May's last major AEW program, and it was her last AEW match because her contract was up. Now, there have been conflicting reports. Some people have said or speculated that Mariah May told AEW she was not going to be re-signing, and therefore they did not renew her contract, obviously, and they pulled her from television. There's others saying that AEW saw the writing on the wall because Mariah was not re-signing. She was just kind of pushing things down the road. And they're like, okay, you're going to WWE. We've seen this song and dance before. We're still going to use you on TV. Now, historically in wrestling, people will be used to put others over, right? So if you're leaving a territory or you're leaving a promotion, you'll put others over, do the honors, and make stars on your way out. In this day and age, especially within AEW, they don't do that. They ice shoot. They put you on the bench. They don't use you at all. WWE, they're trying to do the same thing, whether it's R-Truth or whether it's Carlito or whoever. Okay. So Mariah May, obviously done with AEW, obviously in WWE, multi-year deal. It's a major, major deal. The reason I say that it's bigger than you know is because Mariah May is now being in NXT as someone who is going to be the next top star. Okay, they lost all of their heavy hitters. And don't get me wrong, there's still some heavy hitters in NXT. Kalani Jordan, Jordan Parker, and Jordan Grace. But I think Grace is going to be called up to the main roster sooner rather than later. Mariah May is being brought in to be that next top star and to really form the next level, the next iteration of the women's division. Because I understand that JC Jane winning the NXT women's title was a shocker to many, including myself. But I don't think she's going to be a long-term champion. I think this is a very, very planned out situation where she's going to be a transitional champion. So I wouldn't get too hung up on JC Jane being the NXT Women's Champion and that they'll switch the belt probably soon. Like I would expect Mariah May to be champion within probably the next 3 months, 2 months.